All right, so today I want to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin, altcoins, and the differences thereof, because there's still so many people that do not understand this. And I mean, frankly, there's some people that will never understand it, never acknowledge it. So again, this is from Nico BIT Volt 7 on Twitter. Bitcoiners want to separate money and state. Shitcoiners want Lambos. We are not the same. So, I mean, I would start it out and say that I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting nice things. And I mean, frankly, if Bitcoin does what it projects to do, I'll be buying some nice things, and I'm sure a lot of other people will. But that is not the fundamental reason that I got into it and that the vast majority of people got into it, right? That is not the fundamental reason. The fundamental reason is the philosophy behind it. And this is the thing that people do not understand, right? Number one, I've said time and time again that we are so early in this process because the vast majority of people either literally could not be more clueless on the topic, or another thing you hear, and this is common from the big finance quote-unquote gurus, is that they lump crypto all together. Oh, it's crypto, it's all virtually all the same to them. And again, it's just a confession that these guys don't know what they're talking about, because within the crypto space, this is one of the most hotly discussed topics. The difference between Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, you name it. This is the big debate. And again, when they lump it all together, it's a confession they don't know what they're talking about. It's literally like lumping a penny stock in with Apple, Google, Amazon. Like that is what they are doing. Right? So again, that's the first thing that you got to get out of the way. But when it comes to altcoins, I used to have a small position in some altcoins. ETH, Cardano, I never got Solana. That was basically it, to be honest. Again, I sold both of those, right? Both of them, because it's pointless to hold them, because you're completely forgetting the point, right? And again, they can go on and on about, oh my God, the faster transactions, but it's like, okay, well, we're not comparing apples to apples, because when you look at ETH, they've rolled back the chain before. So you're not getting final settlement, right? You're not, when you're not getting final settlement, when your transaction can be censored, right? I mean, a lot of ETH transactions are, government OFAC controlled, right? So again, we're not comparing apples to apples. And I mean, not to mention too, with the coming on of the Lightning network, the idea that Bitcoin's going to have an issue with slow transaction times, I think that's already taken care of itself, right? So that's not really a concern. And I mean, you have Charles Hodgkinson coming out recently and saying, oh, well, what is the difference? Run the Howey test. And it's like, either he doesn't know what the Howey test is, right? Because I have a fairly amateur understanding of it, and I clearly understood it better than he did in that video, or he's just lying, right? Again, just my opinion. But when you look at the Howey test, right? I mean, when you have insiders, okay, that's step one, right? I mean, when you have a CEO, when you have a corporation behind your coin, that's pretty much step one. When you have a group of insiders expecting to profit, that's basically the definition right there. And I mean, number one, the reason that we know that Bitcoin fails the Howey test, which is what you want to do, is there's a handful of reasons. Number one, there's no insiders. And number two, the value was zero at conception. Right? And this is the other big problem with a lot of these coins, is that there was massive pre-mines. Right? I mean, why would you want to invest in a coin where insiders are going to get rich off it? Why would you want to do that? It completely defeats the purpose. So the problem with these, with the vast majority of altcoins, is they're just recreating the existing financial system with maybe a slightly different spin on it, right? Because again, blockchain is a pointless technology if it doesn't come with it being decentralized. If it's not decentralized, then what's the point? Right? You're virtually no different than the existing system. Right? So a good way of knowing if you should not invest in an altcoin is not, can it be regulated? It's, can the SEC find someone to go after? Right? The SEC cannot go after Bitcoin because who will they sue? There's no corporation, there's no individual behind it. Right? Now again, Hoskins says, oh, they could subpoena the mining pools. It's like, they can try, they're not going to get anywhere. Right? The SEC, if they want to regulate Cardano, Hoskinson's right there. If they want to regulate ETH, Vitalik, Joe Lubin, they're right there. Solana, they got all their insiders. XRP, they got the corporation behind it and insiders. Right? I mean, this is another good point that I've made before is if the government, like if the SEC's, if they're not even going to regulate XRP, which is a prime example of a centralized shitcoin, right? If they're not going to regulate them, there isn't a snowball's chance in hell they're going to regulate Bitcoin. Right? And I mean, look at what happened in China, right? They tried, quote unquote, regulating Bitcoin. It didn't work out. Right? It didn't work out. And this is another big problem with proof of stake coins is that they're easier to regulate. I mean, the ETH network is at least partly reliant on Amazon Web Services. What happens if the SEC calls them up and like, yeah, we want you to shut that down? Again, they might not be successful, but again, this is the fundamental problem. One of the main ideas, one of the main reasons for owning a cryptocurrency is that you don't have counterparty risk. Bitcoin, there is no counterparty risk. Ethereum, there is pretty much by default. The fact that Vitalik and Joe Lubin, like the fact that they even exist, that is counterparty risk by its very definition. The fact that Charles Hoskinson exists is counterparty risk. The fact that Ripple exists is counterparty risk. Right? So why are you investing in these coins when it completely defeats the purpose behind it in the first place? Now again, honestly, the best reason that you go hear from some of these people is, oh, your Bitcoin, it's going to go up, 2 or 3x, and my altcoin's going to go up 20x. It's like, okay, well, maybe it is. But number one, the chances of any given altcoin going up, even if I let people hand select altcoins, is less than Bitcoin over the long run. And number two is that how do you think you're going to time things perfectly? What makes you think that you're going to time the bottom and the top, let alone the top? Right? I mean, you have all these people bragging about their returns on, Solana recently. And it's like, okay, well, when did you buy it originally? Right? When did you buy it originally? What your overall position? How much are you up? I'd love to see that. Right? So, and I mean, the last point I'll leave it on here is Bitcoin does not need any altcoin, but the altcoins need Bitcoin. And my argument here would be, let's say 10 years from now that the value of Bitcoin is 0. What percentage of altcoins are going to be at least anywhere near where they are right now? I would say that's very low, and I don't think very many people would actually argue that. Right? But let's say the value of Bitcoin is $1 million 10 years from now. The majority of altcoins will be gone. Right? I mean, go back 5 years, 10 years. Look at how much turnover there has been. Right? So that would be my point as far as that goes, right? If you want to gamble, by all means gamble, right? But I mean, I don't know why insist on doing it with cryptos? Why not do it with stocks? Why not do it with? I mean, that doesn't really make sense to me. But if you're going to do that, at least acknowledge what you're doing, in that there's no fundamentals behind it. In that, again, it's glorified gambling. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.